Before we begin, I hope you all like that intro. That's actually from the game. Hey everyone, Stan here from 8-Bit Digi, and welcome to my first weekend replay in a long time. Wow. Honestly, I haven't done one of these in almost a few years. Last one I did was back in 2017. It's amazing how time flies when you're having fun at anime conventions or tech expos. Anywho, here's my weekend replay of Oni. This is going to be a look back at this forgotten cyberpunk title from 2001 that was released for the PS2, PC, and Mac. And just so there's no confusion, this video will focus on the PS2 version of the game. I want to look back not just on the game itself, but the culture of the time and what was happening in gaming, which will explain why Oni has almost been forgotten by gaming history. Thankfully, it lives on thanks to the cult following it developed. Plus, I was actually reminded of this game by a friend who loved it for the Mac. Personally, I only played it a few times back in the day, and it was actually the PC version, not the PS2 version. So, a quick history of pop culture. Oni was released in 2001. This was at a time when cyberpunk was extremely popular in pop culture, all thanks to films like Ghost in the Shell and The Matrix. Also, you couldn't forget the influence of games like System Shock 2 and Deus Ex had. But for Oni, Ghost in the Shell was the obvious influence, from the world building to many of the characters and their design. It was even clear that the main character, Konoko, Super Cop, was obviously based on Major Motoko from Ghost in the Shell. But also, so there was other shared the same themes that's often seen in other works of cyberpunk. Oh, and just so we're clear, I'm probably going to butcher some of these names in my description, so I do apologize for that. In regards to the game itself, Oni is set in a world ravaged by crime and pollution. Konoko is a super cop tasked with bringing down the Syndicate, criminal organization, in case the name didn't give it away. Yeah, real original, by the way. However, she stumbles upon a sinister conspiracy and now must work to uncover the truth. This includes what's going on, the people she works with, and her past. Other than that, I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't played it, but that's because I really want y'all to give this game a chance, especially if you see it at a retro game store or at GameSwap Meet. Do pick it up. Anyhow, the game features a mix of hand-to-hand combat along with some third-person shooting. However, the game clearly wants you to be more focused on hand-to-hand combat, and the hand-to-hand combat is my favorite part of the combat experience. Third person shooting is not that impressive at all, and a lot of times during my playthrough during this weekend, I forgot I would even have a gun with me. So upon its release, Oni was met with mixed reactions. Some praised it for its visual design, its anime-style graphics, and its cyberpunk world, but panned it for bleak environments, the story, and some of the combat mechanics, which were a little clunky even for the time. And so for this, I want to look back on what I liked about the game and what I didn't like about it. Let's be fair here, the story isn't going to get any credit for being original. It's clear the development team wanted to make their own version of Ghost in the Shell. However, to its credit though, I found the voice acting to be amazing, top talent, especially for the time. I think, and also, so I should point out that the main character Konoko is being voiced by Amanda Wynn Lee, who is best known for her role as Rei Ayanami in the original English dub version of Neon Genesis Evangelion, not the Netflix dub. I also have to give it credit for its animated cutscenes, which were amazing even for the time, and the anime-inspired visual designs. Sorry, I'm kind of a sucker for anime games. Most of the game's problem comes from the control layout and the clunky combat system. The movement is very fluid, especially for its time, but when it comes to actual fighting, that's where the problem comes. Mostly in the form that when you knock out a guy, it takes them a while for them to get back up, so you don't know if they're down for good or if they're just down momentarily. Sometimes you could turn around and bam, they're up again. Also not helping is that the control layout, which It's probably one of the weirdest I've seen. No beat 'em up game for the console I've ever played had this kind of a control layout. It just makes a lot of the button configurations, even for the time, don't make any sense. So now you're asking yourself, why was this game forgotten? Well, there are many reasons for it, and here are going to be some of them. Okay, so the first reason is that even though it's a great cyberpunk game, it really didn't stand out compared to the competition. I mean, like I said, it was trying to be Ghost in the Shell, but Ghost in the Shell came out a few years before this game. Hence, most people saw it more as a knockoff than a homage. And if you're wondering the difference, is a knockoff copy something that's recent, whereas a homage pays tribute for a work that was done like 10, 15 years or 30 years ago in the past. Okay, enough with that. Also, didn't really stack out. The game really didn't stack out when you compare it to other titles such as Deus Ex, System Shock, in terms of games. In terms of movies, you also had the Matrix trilogy and Akira. So, only kind of got buried under all these other cyberpunk titles of the time. Okay, so second reason why it's kind of been forgotten has mostly to do with who made it. Now, the game was developed by Bungie, who you all will know are the same development team that made Halo and Destiny. In fact, Oni was released 10 months before Halo came out. So, the Halo, the game that redefined first-person shooting for the console. Plus, you also had the game's publisher, which was Rockstar Games. Rockstar Games, best known for who around this literally the same time also published Max Payne and released Grand Theft Auto 3, which basically set the bar for gaming for the entire generation, and it pretty much established video games as a mainstay in pop culture. So when you got the two people who were involved in your project releasing titles 10 months later that redefine gaming, a title only kind of becomes an afterthought for them. Finally, it was when the game was released that truly sealed its fate. You see, Oni was released in 2001, and 2001 was a pretty competitive year as, first of all, we saw 14 original series being launched. Many of them would go on to define their respective console. Meanwhile, numerous titles were also released around this time that raised the bar for gaming or have been praised as being among the best. Not counting the games I've just listed earlier, among the other games that were released in 2001 are, here's a quick rundown: Silent Hill 2, Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy X, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Jake and Dexter for the PS2 alone. Then you have Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Alien vs. Predator 2, Serious Sam, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon for the PC. Then you have the GameCube, which saw the launch release of Luigi's Mansion, Rogue Squadron 2, and then you have consoles that were in their last days, like the Nintendo 64, which got the release of Conker's Bad Fur Day. And believe me, there was a lot of titles I should have named, but I missed because 2001 saw a lot of great games being released. The point is, Oni got buried under all those titles. I mean, like I said, I played this at a friend's house a few times and I liked it, but come Christmas, I had Metal Gear Solid 2, GTA 3, and Devil May Cry on my games list I wanted that day. Oni was not on that list, unfortunately. In fact, by this time, I had completely forgotten about it. Despite its shortcomings and its poor release time, Oni was a great game that I actually did still enjoy playing, and I don't think it should be forgotten like this. It's another example of the many varieties of games that were available for the PS2, or that console generation in general. Something you really don't see today, as too many games are either over-budgeted AAA titles that try to feel like a movie, or indie games that try to take us back to the past. Sometimes I just want to play a fun game that's right in the middle, not too big, not too small, just right, that still offers a unique experience. And a game like Oni is a reminder why that generation of gaming was amazing, because it offered these options. something you just don't see that much of these days. So, the next time you're at a retro game shop or a swap meet and you see Oni, pick it up. You're gonna enjoy it. It's a different experience. It has its charm, its flaws, but at the end of the day, it's a great game. And if you enjoy old titles like from back in the day, you're gonna enjoy this. Anywho, thank you for watching Weekend Replay. I'm Stan with 8-Bit Digi, and I'll catch you next time.